Hello everybody, welcome back to Pixie Woo. We have a royal wedding in our midst. Meghan will be marrying Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and people are going nuts about it. Like, I'm really pleased for them. Two people that love each other are getting married. Great, but I am going to do a tutorial of my prediction of what Meghan's makeup will be like. Now, unless you wear no makeup, on your wedding day, majority of people keep their makeup pretty much the same as how they wear their makeup every day because they still want to look like themselves. It might just be a little bit more polished if they aren't amazing at doing makeup, and they might just want a makeup artist in just to give it a little tweak and a little bit of their own flair. But a makeup artist will normally ask, how do you normally wear your makeup? What do you like? And then they'll do something reasonably similar with their makeup artist twist. So I'm going to do the makeup that she normally wears with a little bit of a twist. You know, my makeup artist twist, it will just be the colours that I think she'll wear and things like that. But I'm going to go into depth about wedding makeup because she's not the only person getting married this year. Actually, one of my best mates is getting married this year, and her wedding's far more important to me than Meghan's. But you know, I'm pleased for them, really pleased for them. So let me get started. I actually do really like the royals, so I'm not being negative. I do really like the royals. I've already been looking after my skin. Normally brides look after their skin. Oh, by the way, this is going to be a long video. Pause, get yourself a tea and a coffee, maybe a little chocky biscuit, and if the person around you can't bear my voice, put some headphones on. Now recently I went and had a facial done at Sarah Chapman's, which is in London, and she is amazing. I had the best facial ever. She also did Meghan Markle, and she's also done Kate before. She does Victoria Beckham, and it was so lovely. But when you're getting married, you need to start doing your skincare at least 6 months before. Maybe start having facials, fine, so they can get your skin to the right stage that you want it to be at, ready for your wedding. And I think that's one of the key things is people think, oh my God, on the day, a makeup artist can do a lot, but you want your skin to be ready. You want it to be the best it can possibly be. So I would say start doing that about 6 months before, maybe even longer if you've got longer. You know, just, you know, if you've got a year, do it a year. Really, we should do it all the time, shouldn't we? Right, let me get started. I've already, I have exfoliated my skin this morning and cleansed. I've done a video on my exfoliating, Sarah Chapman, I've done a video on my skincare regime, so you can go and look at that. But I've already done that today. I haven't put any moisturiser on, so that will be my next step. When you've been to see a specialist about your skin, they will tell you the best moisturiser for you. I'm actually just using one that makeup sits well over today, but this would not be one that you would probably use as your everyday one. This is an It Cosmetic anti-aging one. And I like it, makeup sits well over it. Charlotte Tilbury one, makeup sits well over. Now that's something that your makeup artist or you will use on the day, but it's not necessarily one you will use before as your main moisturiser to get your skin ready, because it doesn't have enough of the good qualities that you want from a good moisturiser. Next I'm going to go in with a touch of primer. This is the Victoria Beckham one. I've put far too much on my hand. I don't know why I just did that. And I'm going to just buff that over the skin. So this is going to give my skin a little bit of radiance before the makeup even goes on. Now, I think when you're getting married, use a primer. Find a primer that works for you. This one is great if you have a slightly dry, slightly duller skin. Dull, not dull, dull skin. So it's a little bit flat looking, because this will give it a lovely glow throughout the day. If you have big pores, you can get ones that will cover the pores a little bit better. There are primers for everything. So find out what your skin type is first, and then go and find the right primer for you. If you have large pores, Urban Decay do the pore minimizer one, which is really beautiful. I'm going to take this down my neck because I'm not wasting all that product. And actually, you'd want it down your neck anyway on your wedding day, and a little bit on your ears, more with the foundation, depending on how your hair is. I'm going to take that on my collarbone then as well, as I've got so much left. What a waste. Next in with a bit of SPF. Now normally I go for this one, which is Privage by Elizabeth Arden, but it has an SPF of 50 in. Obviously I want a high SPF, but the higher the SPF, the more it will flash back and make your face look lighter from the camera. So be careful about the SPF in the foundation, be careful about the SPF in the primer. So I've got this Prairie one, which is so expensive, but my friend sent it to me. And it has got a colour to it. This is the colour Nude. This has an SPF of 30, so it's still going to protect me, but it's not quite as strong. Got to be careful of the flashback. If you're really worried, then maybe, just for this day, don't put your SPF on. So I'm just going to take that all over. This one has got a foundation coverage as well, but I'm going to go over it with another foundation. It's not quite the coverage that I want, but it is very beautiful. You've got to bear in mind that, you know, I do have all these expensive products, but I do freelance makeup as well. So, well, I used to, I don't so much get time anymore. So obviously you can go out and buy all this stuff, but it's going to cost you a massive amount of money. And if you book a makeup artist, then hopefully they'll have a lot of this stuff. They should have this stuff, so that it doesn't cost you, you're paying out for the makeup artist rather than the products, but you don't get to keep them. It's catch-22, whichever you prefer. Now, Meghan's skin always looks lovely and glowing, so she does look after her skin a lot. So the SPF is on the skin. I'm going to allow that to really work into the skin and move on to the eyes. It's already given me a little bit of colour that's evened out my skin tone, so I'm not looking at blotchy skin while I move on to the eyes, because quite often if you're doing makeup on someone else, they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror while you're doing the eyes and not have any base on. So this is just giving me a little something. So I have two Stila eyeshadows to choose from. These are both liquid cream eyeshadows. One is in Kitten and one is in Boheim. Now Kitten is a slightly, I think, more goldy undertone. Let me have a look. Slightly, hardly, but slightly. It's still got the silveriness to it, but it's a bit more pinky. I am still going to use Boheim, not Kitten. Kitten's a little bit more of a gold undertone, and if you look at Meghan, even though the gold undertones will suit her a lot, she quite often goes for slightly more grey, blacker undertones to her eyeshadow. So I'm going to go in with this one, which is Boheim. I'm just going to use this as kind of an eyeshadow base. I don't want too much of it, so I'm going to use my finger just to really buff that over the eye. This is going to act almost like a primer for me. See, I don't want it to have too much payoff. Can you see that? It's not really had too much, which is exactly what I was looking for. So that's going to work as a beautiful base, and the great thing about that sort of colour is I can put golds over it or I can put greys over it. Now, the time of the year that Meghan's getting married would normally mean it's going to be quite bright and quite light, so you'd go for more goldy tones. The more the sun reflects, the more goldy tones you'd go for. However, because she likes the slightly greyer tones, I'm going to stick with those. So I've got this Sophisticate palette, which I used in my last video. It's a Charlotte Tilbury one. I really like this. It's beautiful for brides, but I've also got this one, which is Golden Goddess, and I know it has some gold tones in, but it also has this kind of pewter colour here, which is the one that I really, really want. Start off with, I'm going to go in with a little touch of the lightest colour from the Sophisticate palette, and I'm going to run that over the top. Yes, it's going to take some of that shine away, but that shine will come back throughout the day, so don't worry too much about that. And I am going to put another shinier product over the top again. So don't stress. It's, like I said, with weddings, it's all about layering. And I don't want it to be too shiny. Like before, that eyeshadow was beautiful, but maybe a bit too shiny. That will still come through. I'm using an Real Techniques Insta Pop brush, and this is in the crease brush, it's called. And then in the other palette, the Golden Goddess one, there is a slightly lighter base shadow, which I'm just going to take right in this corner here. Now, Meghan doesn't really have this deep bit here, so she might not need this bit. Her eyes are a little bit more hooded than mine, which is not a bad thing. Hooded eyes are beautiful. Just means you haven't got as much space to work with as me. Before I move on to the eyeshadow colours in the socket, I'm going to add the liner that I think Meghan will have. I have got Prunella by MAC and Phone Number. Now, I'm going to start with Prunella. I think this is so much nicer than black. Now, Kate, if you looked at Kate Middleton's makeup, she had really black under her eyes and it was very, very harsh. She looked beautiful, but I didn't really like it, I have to say. So I'm going to go for something a little bit softer, which is Prunella. Obviously, it's none of my business if I liked it or not, and it doesn't bother anyone, but that's just my opinion. I'm going to use Prunella. So if you see there, can you see that it's kind of like, well, it's a slightly purpley, mauvey grey, but not quite harsh colour, which I think is beautiful for a bride. Absolutely beautiful for a bride. Let me just move my mirror closer. And I'm going to run that along the lash line. What do you think her dress is going to be like? I don't think it will be lace because Kate's just unlaced, didn't she? Could be like, because they always keep their, often they keep their arms covered. So it would be really interesting to see if Meghan doesn't. Because she's quite, you know, she likes fashion, so it would be interesting. So I'm just running that along the lash line. And then I'm going to take a soft brush. This is a shading brush, and just soften it. And I can always go back in with a bit more. And then build with it again, keeping more to the lash line, as close to the lash line as possible. So I don't want to blend it up too far, then it turns into a smoky eye and it's very different. I literally love that colour. I imagine Meghan will have a makeup artist. No one's going to want to be in front of that many press and the world without one, are they? So this eye pencil that I'm using by MAC is a Kohl pencil. So it does have a bit of movement. You can find one in a similar colour that will be 24/7, but I actually prefer a Kohl personally. And this is what I would use on brides and have done many a time. So you can see the colours that I've chosen are actually, the purpley sort of tone is far more of a winter kind of tone, but it is the colour that Meghan goes for. You would think she would go for slightly golder tones with her olivey skin, but actually she likes a slightly greyer tone, and actually, and with her beautiful brown eyes, this kind of purple would be beautiful, so extremely flattering. I told you this would be a long video, but I think the thing is, if you're getting married, a lot of when we do videos, you cut out all the bits that are key bits for your makeup. So this has got to be a longer video because, you know, if I cut them out, then you're not going to know that key information. I'm going to take that on my top waterline as well. So I'm hardly actually using the Golden Goddess palette, hardly at all. I'm actually using the Sophisticate one much more. I'm going to take a little bit of these two mixed together now, the two here, and just run it a tiny bit through the socket. Really subtly. Mixture of the two makes it not quite as grey, makes it look a little bit more stony. Right, I'm going to go on to brows. Give them a little brush up. Nothing too extravagant for the brows, just shape them to their natural shape, but make sure they're a tiny bit more filled in without looking like they're stenciled on brows. This is another Charlotte Tilbury product in Supermodel. Now Meghan doesn't have too much brow at the front, so I'm just going to soften that. Imagine if Meghan saw this and was like, yeah, I like that, can you come and do it for me? Little bit, this is the Suqqu Brow Gel that I love at the moment. A little bit of that, just run through the brows. So it's just adding a bit of texture to the brows, because I think sometimes brows need a little bit of extra texture. You want your makeup to look like it's not on. We are getting there. Before I do any more, I'm going to put my mascara on. Now, I want to see how my eyes look with mascara on, because sometimes mascara can make them look way fuller and almost too much, and I don't want to go that step too far. So mascara first, and then I can touch up afterwards. Obviously, you'd use a waterproof if you're going to cry. I've just got a YSL Volume Effects because it's my favourite. Can you see how much fuller that instantly makes the eyes? So what I will do is come back to the eyes right at the end and decide whether it needs more. We'll need slight little tweaks, but I've done the majority of the work now already. Look at that cloggingness there. That ain't gonna cut it for a princess, is it? I'm then going to go back to my skin. I'm going to put my second foundation on. This one is a SPF, but it's also a foundation at the same time, and that was an SPF of 30. This is Lancome Feels Good, and this is an SPF of 23. Now, added together, they don't make an SPF of 53. Doesn't matter. That doesn't happen, okay? Because it's diluted, so don't worry about that. So this one is Feels So Good Skin in Blonde. I like how this looks on the skin. Gives your skin a radiant glow. And actually, those two foundations put together almost make one slightly fuller coverage, if that makes sense. I would never put a full coverage on. I'd always build. Otherwise it can look flat and like you're not a real person. Like a doll. You can see I'm really pushing it over certain areas where I just want it to kind of sit on the skin and have its time to work into the skin. I'm going to take this one down the neck, and depending on what sort of dress you're wearing, what sort of finish, you're either going to take a body foundation around here or something that's going to make that skin tone even as well, because otherwise you're going to get married and have perfect face, but the rest is going to be a little bit mottly. Quite often you get a little bit of a red rash here as well, through nerves, through excitement, through everything. So I would say bring a little bit of the foundation down here too. Do that before the dress is on, allow it to set. Be really careful when you put the dress on, maybe even put a cloth over yourself before. I always, when I do weddings, make sure that the dress is nowhere near where I'm doing the makeup, because you might drop something, something might smash, you might just move. I'm just so careful of it, because there would be nothing worse than getting makeup on the dress. So far the stuff that I've put here as well. In with under eye concealer, I have got my MAC Prep and Prime concealer. I'm going to take that just where my darkness is. This one is in colour Highlight Bright Forecast. I'm going to take a Real Techniques Deluxe concealer brush and just blend that under. Just taking a clean brush just to make sure that's all buffed in. What is that? Oh, this side doesn't do it. Oh yeah, it does. I'm then going to go in with my Kevyn Aucoin concealer. This is a slightly fuller coverage. I want to take that around my nose. And a little bit just in here, where I get uber dark. Just for luck, a little bit on the end of the nose. I'm going to use my brush here first, because it's going to pick up the most product there. And I don't want too much product when I'm blending this under eye area. Just lifted those very central under eyes, a little bit around the nose. You see my brush is getting a bit fuller of product now. That's why I went to the under eyes first. Right, back to the eyes for a bit while that settles in. I'm going to take a little bit of my Prunella and just run it along here, because I can see, get away with a little bit more there. I'm going to run a tiny bit of the Prunella just under the eye. Now, if I'd done that a lot harder and not blended it at all, that's what Kate's under eyes looked like, which is why I didn't like it. It needs to be really softly blended. Individual lashes. These ones are Kiss. Actually, I prefer the ones that are grouped individual lashes, but these ones for today. Now, Meghan might actually have false lashes, you know, like actually, what are they called? Lashes that are actually on your lashes. Permanent false lashes. But she would have had them done only a couple of days before, which will look beautiful. But I always use individuals on brides because if one falls off, it doesn't matter so much. The whole strip doesn't come away, especially with a long day, a lot of crying, maybe a lot of touching your face. You want to make sure that if one lash comes loose, it doesn't matter at all. Normally short and medium, long is quite often too long. Pop a little bit of glue. I use the duo glue, but if you are allergic to latex, then you can buy latex-free ones. Duo now do a latex-free one as well. I like the clear white because it sets clear. I am going to put some short and medium on. Probably about 4 short per eye, maybe 3 medium. If you pull them out and they aren't quite straight, like they're kind of going a bit gnarly, like that, then don't use that one. You're going to pop a little bit of glue on the end. You're going to go in, look down, and pop it in as close to the lash line as possible, and then step away. Try not to be there too long, because then you might move them too much. You don't want them to move much. Great thing about short ones is you can take them right in here. So you can see I pop them down, then I kind of push them to where I want them to be and then leave them. Now you could go underneath with the lashes, but it's not going to be as comfortable on your wedding day. I wonder if Harvey, Mike or Donna will go to Meghan's wedding. Or Lewis. I'm a bit of a Suits fan. Love it. Once they're in place, I'm going to add a bit of mascara. I'm taking MAC Extended Play. You would use the same one, but my one, because it comes out a bit heavy, it will really cling to them and look too much. A bit like that I've just done there. What a wally. I'm going to have to use my special tool. I think these are brilliant. Just to get that clean through. And you can see how natural they look because they are individuals. They just look that bit more natural rather than a big strip. Okay, I'm going to do the other side, which you don't need to see. Okay, so the foundation's worked into the skin nicely. It's still got a lovely glow to it, but it's not really, really shiny. It's not flat. I'm then going to go in with a cream blusher. This is the Hourgalss one because it's my favourite, but you can find any cream blusher to start off with. Again, it's about layering. That's why I use a cream blusher first. Adds texture to the skin and another layer. This is Hourgalss Sunset Palette. You can use the Chanel Soleil Bronze, Soleil Universal Tan, I think it is, or Universal Bronzer. It changed its name at some point. Take that around the hairline so that you don't look like you've got, you know, just colour on your cheeks. And I'm not using it to contour, I'm using it just on the top of the cheekbones, just to add a little bit of colour, but where I stop, it almost contours for you. And then the highlighter will place over the top of this as well. Just across the nose so it looks lovely and healthy. I'm then going to take my finishing powder. This is Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Airbrush one in number 1. I'm using at the moment because it's just nicer under my eyes. Now, you do need to set your makeup if you're getting married. You do want to powder it. You might want to take a blot powder or something with you during the day so that if you get a shine, you can blot it down. But you do need to powder to take away the excess shine and to seal that makeup into place. Try and find one that kind of sets softly onto the skin, mats it out, but it doesn't look too heavy. because you don't want to look chalky and too heavy. Then I'm going to go with the powder bronze. This is the Charlotte Tilbury. This is Filmstar Bronze and Glow. And I'm going to take the powder bronze just over where I put the other one. It's going to cling to it, add layer, but also give it kind of a soft finish to it throughout the hairline. I'm going to take that on my collarbone. On a Bold Metal 01 brush. I'm going to go back in with my eyeshadow brush and a little bit of the bronzer and just run that through there, just to add a lovely spot of warm bronze through there. Just finishes the makeup really nicely, a bit of bronzer or a bit of the blusher that you use just through the socket bone. And then with a highlighter that comes with that palette, little touch on the top of the cheekbones, really buffed in, so there's not much there. Now normally I'd use a cream blush, but for the wedding day, a little bit through the brow bone, I would use probably a powder. I might pop a tiny bit of cream over the top so it adds a different dimension to the shine. You don't want highlighter you can see from space. You just want one that makes your cheekbones stand out. It makes the makeup look pretty. I'm going to pop a tiny bit of Hush just here as well. I just like to tap that into place so it warms up, kind of gets that makeup moving. I'm going to take a tiny bit of a peachy tone blusher just through the apples of the cheeks. I have this one which is by MAC, and it looks really, really strong, but it isn't when it goes on. This is called Virgin Isle, and I also have this one called Improper Copper. I'm going to use a setting brush. I'm going to mix these two together because otherwise it will land too much on the cheek. Tiny bit. I like the difference of textures, that's why I'm going for a cream one. Just check there's not too much on there on my hand. Just smile, just brush that through the cheek. So it just kisses the skin really, really lightly. And then on the lip, I am going to use a lip line as a base. This is Pillowtalk, but it's not the main colour. It's just to add a little bit of a base there first. Because actually Meghan very rarely wears lip liner. So that's just to get rid of the colour that my lips were before, and give them like an even tone before I put a lipstick on. And the reason I went for Pillowtalk is because it's good flesh colour for me. Iconic Nude is another really nice one. And then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take this Chanel lipstick, which is in Jersey Rose. It's got just a really subtle kind of corally tone to it, which I think is really good for Meghan. So you can see that the lip liner was just there to give me a base to work over the top of. So there you have my interpretation of what Meghan Markle's makeup would be like on her wedding day. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's Pixie Boo. And if you do this makeup on your wedding day, don't forget to tag me in it. I'd love to see it. And if you're wondering why I haven't got my wedding ring on, nothing's happened. It's just being fixed. One of the diamonds was coming loose, so I had it fixed. It sounds so awful to say that, but yeah. And I hope you have a nice day, a nice evening, and I'll see you next time. Take care.